between, we are all just property of the Hells Angels.
From being seen as property inside the Hells Angels to becoming the most ruthless woman ever to exist within their world. This is the story of a woman who walked among killers, earned their trust, and exposed their secrets from within. But the Hells Angels don't have female members. So how did Jenna Maguire make her way into one of the most feared outlaw clubs in the world? There is only one role reserved for women in that world. Role of an old lady. It isn't glamorous, and it isn't equal. It's a position built on loyalty, submission, and silence. That's what made Jenna Maguire different. She wasn't born into this world. She was sent into it. And once inside, she learned how to use its rules against the men who thought they controlled her. Operation Black Biscuit. It started in 2001 when the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives launched Operation Black Biscuit, a deep undercover mission targeting the Mesa, Arizona chapter of the Hells Angels. The goal was simple on paper: infiltrate one of the most secretive and violent outlaw motorcycle clubs in America. But doing that meant creating something the Angels would trust. So the agents built a fake chapter of a puppet club known as the Solo Angels Nomads. Every member was an undercover ATF operative carefully selected to look, act, and live like a real outlaw. They rode together, fought together, and learned the unspoken rules of the biker world, where respect was earned with your fists, not your badge.
The initial plan of Operation Black Biscuit was to set up a biker gang to run side by side with the Hells Angels in Arizona.
Leading the operation was Jay Dobbins, under the name Jaybird Davis, a gun runner and criminal with a violent edge. His team included seasoned agents and local detectives who had worked with drug cartels, gun traffickers, and biker gangs before. Together, they spent months building their reputation, showing up at runs, parties, and events, until the Hells Angels started to notice them. The plan worked. The Mesa chapter believed the Solo Angels were a legitimate crew trying to earn their place in Arizona's outlaw scene. Dobbins and his team got invited to hang around, the first step toward full access. But inside the Angels' world, every move was watched. Every word mattered. And as time passed, something about Dobbins began to draw suspicion. He didn't bring women around. He didn't act like the others. Whispers started spreading through the club. They thought he might be gay. And gays are not allowed in Hells Angels. A man without a woman was a liability, and a liability could get you killed. To fix that, the ATF decided to add one more player to the cover. Her name was Jenna Maguire, an agent known for her composure, intelligence, and nerve. Her job was to play Dobbins' girlfriend, his old lady. And the puppet club was finally patched over to the Hells Angels, granting Dobbins and his team a deeper level of trust. Jenna Maguire, the old lady cover. She would soon prove to be the most ruthless female Hells Angels to ever exist. Inside the Hells Angels, power and loyalty defined everything. Men led and women followed. They were known as old ladies, not out of affection but ownership. Being someone's old lady meant belonging to him completely. You walked behind him, spoke when spoken to, and never questioned the patch. That was the world Jenna J.J. Maguire entered. Her assignment was simple on paper: play the girlfriend of Special Agent Jay Dobbins, who was undercover as gun runner Jaybird Davis. In practice, it could cost her life. One mistake would expose them both. Her introduction was planned carefully. Dobbins arranged a dinner with Smitty, a real Hells Angel, and his wife, Lydia, at a restaurant in La Jolla. JJ would coincidentally appear, greet Jay like an old flame, and slide naturally into the group. Lydia liked her, and Smitty respected her confidence. By the end of that night, she wasn't a stranger. She was part of the story. From then on, she lived the role. The bars, the runs, the meetings, and the parties filled with drugs and guns became her daily reality. She learned every unspoken rule: where to stand, when to look down, and when to stay quiet. She followed Jay's lead, never broke character, and made their relationship believable enough to silence all suspicion. Her presence gave Jay credibility. In the Angels' world, a man without a woman seemed weak. JJ's confidence and loyalty made Jaybird Davis look real. When other members tried to introduce him to club girls, JJ diffused it instantly with a calm grin and said, "Not while Bird is my old man." To the Angels, she was loyal and trustworthy. To the ATF, she was their eyes and ears behind enemy lines. Every night she dropped the act and reported everything she had seen. It was a performance that could never slip. Each morning she stepped back into the same danger, surrounded by men who would kill her without hesitation if they found out who she really was. Inside the Hells Angels, things were different. Life there was a constant balancing act between chaos and control. Every day felt like walking a tightrope over fire. One wrong move, one careless glance, and everything could fall apart. The parties were packed with armed bikers. Guns sat openly on tables. Drugs moved through the room like drinks, and fights erupted without warning. For Jenna McGuire, this was no longer an act. It was survival. She had to look comfortable in a place built on violence. A flinch, a hesitation, or a misplaced word could expose them all. She learned the etiquette fast. Never interrupt a member, never refuse a request, always show loyalty to the patch. If a fight broke out, you looked away. Respect was the only currency that mattered, and it had to be earned every hour. The Angels tested every newcomer. They pushed boundaries, watched reactions, and waited for weakness. For JJ, every conversation became a performance. The smallest inconsistency could turn curiosity into suspicion. She stayed quiet when she had to, played loyal when it counted, and kept her fear buried deep enough that no one could see it. The operation itself began to fracture under pressure. Their informant, Rudy Kramer, became a liability. Reckless, unpredictable, and on meth. He was removed after a staged traffic stop produced a gun and a bag of methamphetamine. The team could not afford mistakes. Rudy's removal protected the case, but it also showed how fragile their cover had become. Then came a moment that nearly ended everything. The Skull Valley chapter of Hells Angels ordered Jay Dobbins and the undercover crew to take care of business in Las Vegas against the Banditos. They were told to go and kill every bandito they encountered. Jay found a 2-minute window at a gas station to call his handler. That call triggered a multi-agency alert. Police quietly intercepted bikers and blocked routes. The massacre never happened, but the team knew how close they had come. Refusal or hesitation would have been seen as betrayal, and betrayal meant death. Routine operations demanded dangerous improvisation. Informants were managed, shipped, and paid. Pops and Rudy were sent to Tijuana under the guise of club business, and dues were paid to Solo Angels headquarters to keep the illusion intact. Every move required balancing multiple lies at once. One for the Angels, one for the informants, and one for the agency. Through it all, JJ remained steady. She blended in at meetings, memorized faces, tracked loyalties, and noted who handled weapons and money. To everyone else, she was a loyal biker's girlfriend, obedient and harmless. In reality, she was documenting the internal structure of one of the most feared motorcycle clubs in the world. Dobbins later wrote that they lived as criminals by day and agents by night. There was no break, no time to breathe. Even when the music stopped and the rooms fell quiet, they stayed in character. In the Hells Angels, trust was earned in blood and lost in seconds. Psychological warfare and breaking point. As the undercover mission deepened, the line between reality and performance began to vanish. Every week brought new tests, new plays, and new dangers. Then the day CA when the ATF had to stage a murder, a move designed to prove the Solo Angels' loyalty beyond question. The plan was brutal in its simplicity. They fabricated the killing of a Mongol biker, the Angels' sworn enemy. A Phoenix detective played the body, smeared with cow's blood and wrapped in a Mongol vest. A cow's stomach was used to make the fake gunshot wound look convincing. Photographs were taken. The corpse lying in a ditch, bound in tape. The cut drenched in red. The images were sent in a FedEx box, along with the bloodied vest, to the Skull Valley Charter. When the Angels opened it, they didn't doubt it for a second. They believed the solo Angels had killed for the club. For an undercover team living on borrowed time, that moment meant survival. They were now trusted, respected, believed. The reaction came quickly. JJ's phone rang through the night, calls from members and their wives congratulating her, offering comfort, and welcoming her deeper into the fold. For the first time, she wasn't just tolerated in their world, she was part of it. The deception had worked too well, but the victory came with a cost that none of them could shake. Around the same time, news spread through the Mesa clubhouse about Cynthia Garcia, a woman who had dared to insult a member at a party. She wasn't an agent, an informant, or an enemy. He was just someone who spoke out of turn. For that, she was beaten, stabbed, and dumped in the Arizona desert. Her murder reminded everyone, especially Jay, how easily women disappeared in that world. The psychological toll of living inside that fear began to show. JJ's nights were restless. She'd wake up to every sound, convinced someone was at the door. The fake relationship between her and Dobbins had started as a practical cover. Two agents pretending to be a couple to make the illusion believable. But under constant watch, every smile, every argument, every touch had to look real. After nearly 2 years undercover, Operation Black Biscuit reached its breaking point. The walls were closing in, and the Angels had no idea it was about to end. Federal agents moved fast. Raids hit clubhouses across Arizona, Mesa, Skull Valley, and Cave Creek, all in one coordinated strike. 16 high-ranking members of the Hells Angels were arrested on charges that included racketeering, murder, conspiracy to commit murder for hire, and large-scale drug trafficking. It was one of the largest federal takedowns of an outlaw motorcycle club in U.S. history. On paper, the operation was a success. The ATF had accomplished something no one thought possible, infiltrating one of the most secretive and violent brotherhoods in the world. But the victory came at a cost that no report could capture. The evidence was staggering. More than 650 illegal and fully automatic weapons were recovered, including machine guns, silencers, and homemade explosives. Agents seized over 30,000 rounds of ammunition, 800 hours of bugged recordings, 92,000 intercepted phone calls, and 8,500 pages of documents. The Angels were stunned. The same people they had partied with, trusted, and called brothers were suddenly testifying against them. Their own hangarounds, prospects, and even old ladies, the ones they thought were loyal for life, were now on the stand describing how the club operated. For a group built entirely on loyalty, for Jenna McGuire, the end wasn't relief. It was collapse. After years of living as someone else, she couldn't simply walk away. The lies, the tension, and the constant danger had rewired her sense of reality. She had spent so long inside the club that stepping out of it felt unnatural. She withdrew from undercover work soon after the takedown, her story sealed inside internal ATF files, overshadowed by media focus on Jay Dobbins and the broader success of the operation. But even as the Angels faced trial, the fallout had only begun. Inside the ATF, serious questions emerged about ethics, cost, and tactics. Lawmakers demanded answers about how far the agency had gone, and whether the risks to its agents had been worth it. Some called it a once-in-a-generation victory. Others saw it as reckless, a mission that pushed its agents past the point of no return. Jay Dobbins later described the aftermath, the sleepless nights, the paranoia, the toll it took on his family. For the team, the operation didn't end with arrests. It lived on in every nightmare, every locked door, every unshakable habit of checking shadows before turning corners. Jenna McGuire disappeared quietly from the world she had exposed. Her mission succeeded, but it cost her something permanent. The trial that undid it all. When the case went before a federal judge, everything began to unravel. Prosecutors had evidence stacked floor to ceiling, but defense attorneys tore through it piece by piece. They argued that ATF agents had gone too far, that Operation Black Biscuit blurred the line between investigation and entrapment. Recordings were questioned. Informants were discredited. Some witnesses backed out, fearing retaliation. The defense portrayed the agents not as investigators, but as participants. Jenna J.J. McGuire was called to testify. The same woman the Angels had once seen as loyal property now stood before them as a federal witness. Her testimony confirmed the club's structure, hierarchy, and inner violence. But her appearance in court hit harder than any evidence file. For the Angels, seeing her take the stand was a public betrayal they never saw coming. In the end, the operation that had once been celebrated as a law enforcement breakthrough fell apart under its own weight. Most of the high-ranking Angels walked free. RICO charges were dropped or reduced. Some members took plea deals and served minimal time. Years of undercover work and personal risk dissolved in the courtroom. The victory that once looked absolute now felt hollow. Inside the ATF, the fallout was immediate. Lawmakers and internal investigators questioned the ethics, costs, and tactics of the operation. Some called it a landmark case that proved infiltration was possible. Others saw it as a cautionary tale, an operation that pushed its agents too far for too little return. For Jay Dobbins and Jenna McGuire, the mission didn't end with the arrests. It followed them into their homes, their sleep, and their relationships. Dobbins later spoke about paranoia, sleepless nights, and the toll on his family. For McGuire, the collapse in court was the hardest part. She had risked everything to maintain her cover, only to watch the case unravel in public. The men she deceived were now free, and her name was buried inside sealed reports. She withdrew from undercover work soon after, her contribution largely erased from official accounts. She had walked into the most dangerous outlaw brotherhood in America and survived. But survival came with a price. They won the case and lost parts of themselves. Beyond JJ. Women at the edge. Jenna McGuire's story wasn't the only one that showed how dangerous life could be for women orbiting the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. Across different chapters and countries, other names surfaced. Women who crossed invisible lines of loyalty, defiance, or survival, and paid a heavy price for it. Cynthia Garcia became a grim symbol of what happens when a woman challenges the club's authority. During a party at the Mesa Clubhouse, she insulted a Hells Angels member. That single act was enough to seal her fate. She was beaten, stabbed, and dumped in the desert. Her body found days later. Her murder sent an unmistakable message inside the biker world. Disrespecting the patch meant death, no matter who you were. Lisa Osborne and Melissa Meyer were part of a different kind of operation. Both were linked to cross-border gun running and narcotics smuggling tied to Hells Angels affiliates. Federal investigators described them as trusted insiders, women used as couriers and intermediaries, moving between homes, bars, and border towns to keep the network running. When the indictments came, court documents revealed how their loyalty had been weaponized. They weren't outsiders to the club's crimes, they were part of its machinery. Then there was Suzanne "Sassy" Norman in Canada, a woman who saw too much and decided to speak. Once close to several high-ranking members, she turned informant after witnessing brutal violence. Her cooperation helped dismantle parts of the Angels' drug pipeline in British Columbia, but it forced her into hiding. She lived under constant threat, always moving, hunted by the same people she once trusted. Each of their stories exposed the same truth. Inside outlaw motorcycle clubs, loyalty is a weapon. It protects until it doesn't. It demands silence, and when that silence breaks, the punishment is swift. Whether as victims, accomplices, or survivors, these women walked the same razor's edge, where obedience meant safety and defiance could mean death. Jenna McGuire, where she is today. After Operation Black Biscuit ended in 2003, Jenna McGuire's story didn't fade into obscurity. Instead, it evolved into something far more remarkable. She stayed with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, steadily rising through its ranks. Her experience inside the Hells Angels became the foundation for a long and decorated career. She went on to lead multiple undercover operations targeting organized crime, including the Mexican Mafia and other outlaw motorcycle gangs. By 2016, she was promoted to Program Manager of Field Management Staff and Special Operations Division in Idaho, where she oversaw national undercover training programs and coordinated field support for ongoing operations. Today, Jenna McGuire remains associated with the ATF, serving as Acting Deputy Chief at the ATF National Academy and a senior instructor at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Glynn County, Georgia. Her work now focuses on training new generations of undercover agents, teaching them how to survive, adapt, and operate under extreme pressure. In a way, her career came full circle. What began as a dangerous test of endurance inside one of America's most feared biker clubs turned into a lifetime of preparing others to face the same kind of danger. Jenna McGuire played the role of property, but she owned the story. Her time inside the Angels not only exposed their hierarchy and brutality, but also redefined what it meant to be an undercover operative. But what happens when a small club dares to take on the wrong enemy? Click on the next video to see how it all ended.